They found out that the wineskin that they were in was no longer suitable for what they were being prepared to go into. And that in order for them to be able to move on with what God wanted to do with them, they would have to receive a new wineskin. They would not be able to continue as they had. They would have to be open enough to receive. So it sounds like Jesus isn't even answering their question, but he is. Why do your disciples not fast? Why? This is a new garment. This is a new wineskin. Something new is happening, but the new was prophesied. Here's the point, and we'll pick this up later. In this particular case, let me say it this way. In the natural case, you had to be able to discern when the present wineskin could no longer be used. And you had to be willing to go through the grief process of making that change. That's point number one. Can't talk about it. Here's point number two. Typically in the natural, when a new wineskin was needed, you went out and you created one. The people created one. Here's the difference. With the new wineskin of the Spirit, the people don't create it. God created it. But what the people must do is discover the new wineskin that has been created and handed off by God. So Jesus' response to the disciples of John is, hey, the bridegroom is here. We're in the day that the prophets and John was talking about. You don't have to go off and create a Messiah, meet and vote on a Messiah, have Messiah's campaign. I'm here. What's your point, Pastor? Second point. The new wineskin that God creates is not only a system, but a people that can handle what God is sending that's new. But the new is really a fulfillment of that which was promised in the old. It's never in contradiction to what God has always said he was going to do. What changes is the system for handling what he said way back yonder he was going to do. Here's the question. Remember not the former things, neither consider the things of old. Behold, I do a new thing, and now it springs forth. Can you not perceive it? I will make a way in the desert. I'll make a wilderness in the rivers in the wilderness, in the desert. Later on in Isaiah, from which we're quoting, the word says, I am creating. You're not creating this people. I am creating a people for my own praise. So Jesus was in effect challenging them in terms of their interpretation of what God was doing. When God calls you, you can get so caught in the era in which you are that you misinterpret where God's really taking you. Sometimes God can tell you where he's taking you, but when you discover it, because you didn't create it, very difficult to receive what God has already created and now tells you and me to discover and become a part of. In other words, disciples of John, what you have been called to do with your leader is to prepare for me. And now you're to join me just like your leader did. Go back to Matthew 3. I must decrease, their leader said. He must increase. Come on, disciples of John. Catch this. Catch this. Your leader saw me. Your leader understands who I am, or who I was before he was beheaded. Do you get it? I must increase. It's about what I came to do. That's what John was trying to prepare you to be a partner with. So the fasting and the praying, while it is good, right now, there's a hindrance because you don't really see me. And you've been prepared to work with me. You've been prepared to embrace me. Not just carry on the ministry of John that someday, 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 one day, someday, 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 someday. Doesn't that sound like church? Someday, 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 this will happen. In the meantime, we'll fast and pray until someday comes. Jesus was in effect saying, someday is here. That's always the true test. So the Lord often will change the way he communicates. He'll not change what he communicates, but he'll change the way he communicates to help us to check in on whether or not we're really getting the point for all of this meeting. Whether or not we're really getting the point for all of these meetings. And when we start to get the point, we find out it don't look nothing like what I thought it was going to look like.